Hello there, very good evening and welcome to Primetime News on TV1 for the Newsfirst, where the people come first. I'm Martin Satyanesan.
And I'm Thiruni Karunaratna. Here are tonight's top stories.
Newsfirst headlines. Main sponsor.
Ask for Eslon Polycon by name.
Economic Oversight Committee convenes under the chairmanship of the President. Bodies of Iranian sailors to be repatriated from the island tonight. Discussions held between the Minister of Foreign Affairs and the Russian ambassador to import oil. Stop the war. The United Nations issues a fresh plea. Stock of narcotics connected to 1,500 cases destroyed in Putlam.
Newsfirst headlines. Main sponsor.
Ask for Eslon Polycon by name.
On to those stories in detail. The Economic Oversight Committee, established to safeguard Sri Lanka's economic stability and protect the welfare of citizens in the face of external pressures, reconvened under the chairmanship of President Anurakumara Dissanayake.
The Economic Oversight Committee convened yesterday at the Presidential Secretariat. The President's Media Division announced that the meeting focused on the potential adverse impacts on Sri Lanka's economy due to the rising global oil prices, disruptions to shipping supplies, and difficulties in international trade caused by the ongoing conflict in the Middle East. Extensive discussions were held regarding the immediate steps to be taken to stabilize the domestic market and protect citizens in the face of this situation. Furthermore, matters discussed during the previous committee meeting were also reviewed. The meeting was attended by Deputy Minister of Finance and Planning and Minister of Labour, Dr. Anil Jayanta Fernando, Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, Dr. P. Nathalal Veerasinghe, Secretary to the Ministry of Finance, Dr. Harshana Surya Peruma, as well as heads of state institutions and presidential advisors. Speaking in Colombo, Minister Dr. Anil Jayanta Fernando expressed views on the situation of the purchasing of crude oil for Sri Lanka. Minister Fernando made an assurance that sufficient stocks of all types of fuels are available until the end of April.
Now, there is a certain issue that exists in obtaining crude oil. The restrictions that are in place to the movement of ships has resulted in higher shipping fares and higher insurance costs. In some extreme cases, movement of ships have completely halted as crude oil cannot be loaded or unloaded to and from them. Therefore, today, not just Sri Lanka, but every country faces an issue on how to obtain crude oil. This issue has led to price increases in this sector. Some countries have raised their prices in line with the global situation. We too have done certain changes to our prices to accommodate these fluctuations. The concern now is not just managing the price, but how to manage the usage as well. Therefore, we have engaged in discussions with various parties to maintain a continuous supply of crude oil to the country. Now, a new situation has developed where sanctions on the purchasing of Russian oil has been lifted for a period of 1 month. This gives us a new opportunity to open a new supply route. The government is doing what needs to be done in this regard. We now urge the general public to use fuel in a careful and sparing manner. We must remember that this is an issue that affects not just individuals, but the national economy and the world as a whole. In the worst case scenario, let's say we cannot purchase a single drop of oil from tomorrow. Even then, we still have sufficient stocks to last during the upcoming festive season. We have sufficient stocks of all fuels until the end of April and have sufficient stocks of some fuels even until May. However, our aim is not to be complacent, rather to manage the entire ecosystem, including the storage facilities, and ensure the continuous supply of oil and fuel to the market.
ඒවා සියල්ල නිසි පරිදි කළමනාකරණය කරමින් වඩාත්ම ප්‍රශස්ත ආකාරයට මේ සැපයුම් දාමය ක්‍රියාත්මක කරවන්න.
Minister of Health and Mass Media Dr. Nalinda Jayatissa called on the Most Venerable Mahanayaka Theros of the Askiri and Malwatha chapters today. The visit aimed at briefing the Mahanayaka Theros regarding the 2026 National Oil Anointing Ceremony and to formally extend an invitation to them for the event.
The national anointing of oil ceremony for the year 2026 is scheduled to be held on the 15th of April at the Natha Devalaya premises within the Sri Dalada Maligawa complex in Kandy. The event is being organized as a joint effort by the Ministry of Health and Mass Media, the Department of Ayurveda, the Sri Lanka Ayurvedic Drugs Corporation and the Ministry of Cultural Affairs. Minister Dr. Nalinda Jayatissa and his delegation first visited the Anunayaka of the Malwatu chapter, Most Venerable Dimul Kumbure Vimala Dhammathero, to formally invite him to the ceremony.
කණ්ඩායම් දෙකේ ප්‍රශ්නේ ගිය අවුරුද්දේ තවිලා තිබුණා මම හිතන්නේ ලබන සතිය වෙනකොට කණ්ඩායම් දෙක එකතුතාවයකට ඒවි කියලා දැනට අපි සංස්කෘතික අමාත්‍යාංශයට සාකච්ඡා කරලා ආයුර්වේද දෙපාර්තමේන්තුවට ඉදිරිපත් කළා තියෙන ඉස්තේරියම රාජ්‍යෝත්සවයේ වෙලාවක් තියෙනවා. ඒ ජ්‍යොතිර්වේදීන් කණ්ඩායම අතර දෙන්න එකතක් ඊට පස්සේ අපි ඔක්කොම පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ. අපි දැන් නායක හඳුන්නේ ඒගොල්ලෝ ඒ කණ්ඩායම් දෙකම සාකච්ඡා කළා මේ එකතාවයකට ඇවිල්ලා ඉදිරිපත් කරයි කියලා. නමුත් දැන් ඉස්තේරියම රාජ්‍යෝත්සවයේ ප්‍රශ්නයක් වෙන්නේ අප්‍රේල් 15 උදේ 6:54ට.
එතකොට ඒක තමයි ඉස්තේරිය.
6:54.
The delegation then called on the Mahanayaka of the Askiri chapter, Most Venerable Varakagoda Sri Jnanaratana Thero, to brief him about the arrangements and extend an invitation.
15 ඉස්තේරියම රාජ්‍යෝත්සවය තියෙන නාථ දේවාලයේ අපි යවුද කරේ නාථ දේවාලයේ.
Following this, the group met with the Anunayaka of the Askiri chapter, Venerable Naram Panave Ananda Thero, and the Anunayaka of the Askiri chapter, Most Venerable Venerave Upali Thero, to update them on the state festival. The minister also visited the Mahanayaka of the Malwatu chapter, Most Venerable Thibbatuave Sri Sumangala Thero, and finally the Anunayaka of the Malwatu chapter, Most Venerable Niyangoda Vijita Siri Thero, to discuss the upcoming proceedings. The bodies of the sailors from the Iranian vessel that sank in international waters near Sri Lanka following a torpedo attack are scheduled to be transported to Iran today. They will be flown out from the Mattala airport via a special aircraft that arrived from Turkey. The Iranian embassy officials took custody of approximately 45 bodies of the sailors, which were held at the Gol Karapetian National Hospital early this morning. Subsequently, the remains were transported to the Mattal International Airport in several refrigerated vehicles. The remaining 39 bodies were transported to the Mattala airport later this evening. The Gaul main magistrate recently ordered that the 84 bodies of the Iranian sailors, which were stored in 2 mobile mortuary coolers at the Gaul National Hospital, be handed over to officials of the Iranian embassy. The Iranian vessel IRIS Dena sank in the southern sea of Sri Lanka on the 4th of March. Following the intervention of the Navy, 32 Iranian sailors were rescued and admitted to the Karapetian National Hospital. The director of the Gaul Karapetian National Hospital stated that 3 of them are still receiving inpatient treatment. The rest of the group was handed over to the Navy after receiving medical treatment.
The United Nations has called on all parties involved in the Middle East conflict to immediately declare a ceasefire. The organization says around 4 million people have been displaced across the region due to the ongoing fighting. Meanwhile, global attention has turned to Iraq, where a US military aircraft involved in operations linked to the war against Iran has crashed. According to the US Central Command, all 6 members aboard the US military refueling aircraft have been confirmed dead after it went down in western Iraq.
What happened to the US refueling aircraft? A KC-135 refueling aircraft belonging to the US military has crashed in western Iraq. The incident occurred in the Trebil area near the Iraq-Jordan border. The US Central Command said that the crash was not caused by an attack from any country. Initial reports suggest that the aircraft may have gone down while attempting to refuel another plane mid-air. The second aircraft involved in the operation managed to land safely at the Ben Gurion airport in Israel, although foreign media reports say it had sustained damage. made Iran react differently regarding the American plane. In contrast, Iranian state television reported that an Iranian-aligned Iraqi armed group had targeted the aircraft with a missile strike. However, US Central Command had strongly denied this claim. The KC-135, manufactured by Boeing, plays a crucial role in US military operations, particularly in mid-air refueling missions. As of March this year, the US Air Force had around 366 K-135 aircraft in its fleet. The latest crash marks the fourth aircraft loss reported since the start of the conflict. Previously, 3 Israeli and US-linked fighter jets were destroyed in Kuwait in what were reported as accidental strikes by Kuwaiti forces. In the ongoing conflict involving the United States and Iranian-aligned interests, 11 US military personnel have been reported killed so far, with more than 140 injured. Meanwhile, a fire aboard the aircraft carrier USS Gerald R. Ford also left 2 sailors injured, although US authorities said the incident was not related to any enemy attack. What is the current situation in Iran? A special statement attributed to Mojtaba Khamenei was broadcast on Iranian state media yesterday. However, he did not appear publicly and no video or audio recording from him was released. Instead, a news anchor read a statement said to be issued by him. In the statement, Mojtaba Khamenei called for the immediate closure of all US military bases located in countries across the region. He warned that if the bases are not shut down, they will face continuous attacks. What is Israel's response? Making a major statement since the start of the war with Iran, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu issued a stern warning to Tehran. He underscored the close relationship between himself and US President Donald Trump, saying they are close allies who consult on the conflict almost daily and make decisions together.
Even now it can be said with certainty, this is no longer the same Iran. This is no longer the same Middle East. And this is also not the same Israel. We are not waiting, we are initiating, we are attacking, and we are doing so with a force the like of which has not been seen before. I have added another goal, to create the conditions for the Iranian people to overthrow this terrible tyrannical regime. To create conditions doesn't guarantee that it will happen, and I told them just now, in what I said a moment ago. I said, it's up to you. It depends on you. I wouldn't issue life insurance policies on any of the leaders of the terrorist organizations. This is their patron of terrorism, and I don't intend to provide an exact report here about what we are planning or what we are going to do.
What is US President Donald Trump's response? US President Donald Trump, in a telephone interview on Fox News, said he believes Iran's newly appointed Supreme Leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, is still alive but likely injured after reports that he was wounded during recent military actions. Trump described Khamenei as probably alive in some form, but suggested that he may be damaged, noting that the Iranian leader has not been seen publicly since taking power following his father's death.
Finally, we hear from the Supreme Leader in a long statement. We don't see him. He doesn't read the speech. They say he wrote the speech. First off, do you believe he's alive?
I think he probably is. I think he's damaged, but I think he's probably alive in some form. Yeah.
What's your takeaway? I know he says that he's going to widen the war. He's going to continue to use the Strait of Hormuz as leverage against you to end this war. He's got underwater drones to stop any of the ships going in and out. What's your message back to the new Supreme Leader?
Well, they've been doing a lot of talking, so he's going to have to put up. We'll have to see, because we are decimating them. We've knocked out most of their missiles. We've knocked out many of their drones. We've knocked out a lot of the manufacturing areas where they manufacture the missiles and now the drones. We're hitting them harder than anybody's been hit since World War II.
What is the response of the United Nations? The United Nations has warned that the ongoing military conflict in the Middle East has triggered a massive humanitarian crisis. According to the organization, over 4.1 million people across across Iran, Lebanon, Syria and Iraq have been forced to flee their homes in search of safety. The majority of those displaced are women and children, and the UN highlighted that providing food, clean drinking water and medical care remains a major challenge amid the continuous fighting. The organization is urging all parties to declare an immediate ceasefire and allow unhindered delivery of humanitarian aid. Sri Lanka is looking at sourcing fuel from Russia following an urgent meeting between Russia's ambassador to Sri Lanka, Levan S. Zagarian, and Minister of Foreign Affairs, Vijay Herath. The discussion took place after the removal of sanctions that had previously prevented Sri Lanka from purchasing Russian oil, seen as a solution to fuel supply chain disruptions caused by the ongoing conflict in the Middle East. As part of the efforts to ensure continuous supply of fuel to the island nation, the foreign minister held talks with Ambassador Zagarian regarding the procurement of Russian oil. The ambassador agreed to immediately convey Sri Lanka's request to the Russian government. He also pledged to coordinate with relevant institutions to carry out the necessary arrangements. During the meeting, the Russian ambassador reaffirmed that Sri Lanka could rely on Russia's support whenever required. An opportunity for Russian crude oil. The United States has granted permission to countries worldwide to purchase Russian crude oil, which was previously under strict sanctions. The US reached this decision in an effort to control rising global crude oil prices following Iran's closure of the Strait of Hormuz. US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent stated that this permission to purchase Russian crude oil will remain in effect until the 11th of April. However, the US clarified that this applies only to Russian fuel tankers currently in transit at sea. The Treasury Secretary noted that because of this limitation, Russia will not gain a massive economic advantage through this move. He further mentioned that while the rise in fuel prices is a temporary setback, it will bring significant long-term benefits to the US economy. The US and other Western nations tightened sanctions on Russian crude oil in 2022 following Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Putin's reaction. Russian President Vladimir Putin mockingly criticized the US decision to temporarily ease sanctions. He stated that the fact that the US had to reverse its decision demonstrates the failure of the Western sanctions system. The Russian president emphasized that this proves the global economy cannot function without Russian energy. He further remarked that the US imposing and lifting sanctions whenever it suits them is merely political theater. Despite the US stance, the Financial Times reported that Russia is earning an additional $150 million per day due to the surge in oil prices. The publication suggests that the Moscow administration is the party benefiting the most from the ongoing Middle East conflict. The US made this decision amidst an increase in attacks targeting oil refineries and fuel tankers. Furthermore, due to the blockage of the Strait of Hormuz, numerous ships and their crews have been stranded at sea for several days. Foreign media reported that a Turkish vessel departed the Strait of Hormuz today with Iranian permission. Negotiations are reportedly underway regarding another 14 Turkish ships. Today's crude oil prices. Crude oil prices in the global market surpassed the $100 mark today and remained near that value throughout the day. Brent crude of the UK, $100 and 70 cents per barrel. WTI crude of the US, $95 and 37 cents per barrel. Murban crude of Nigeria, $114 per barrel.
President Anticorruption Sirasa says that the aim of the government is to provide solutions to all the problems faced by the employees of the Ceylon Electricity Board as soon as possible. The president made this statement while meeting with the representatives of trade unions of the Ceylon Electricity Board today.
Representatives of all the trade union associations of the Ceylon Electricity Board met with the president this afternoon and held a discussion. The president said that he believes that all parties will work with a good understanding and support the government to achieve the desired goals set forth for the country's energy sector. The president pointed out that the government's position is to ensure that all rights enjoyed by the employees of the Ceylon Electricity Board are maintained under the new companies and that the rights of employees are protected at the new companies as well. He requested that CEB employees work with understanding at this interim stage and contribute towards it. The issues that have arisen during the restructuring process of the Ceylon Electricity Board were discussed at length, and attention was also paid to formulating a methodology to resolve employee issues. The trade union representatives pointed out that they understand the current war situation in the Middle East and the challenges that have arisen as a result of it. They assured the president that they will not take any action to inconvenience the government or for their political interests at this time, adding that they will support the restructuring process to the best of their ability at this juncture. As of now, a collective agreement has already been prepared between the new companies and the employees, and as agreed in the discussion with the relevant minister, it has also been discussed to obtain cabinet approval for this agreement and implement it as soon as possible. Issuing a statement, the Presidential Media Division said that President Anurakumara Dissanayake appreciated the dedication shown by the employees of the Ceylon Electricity Board at times of national emergencies and crises, including the recent cyclone Ditwa that struck the island late last year.
Ivan Satutin inne wiring karala. Wiring kiruwe Eslon Polycon yodala.
For your safety and the protection of the wires used in networking, electricity and AC wiring, Eslon Polycon cable trunking, suitable for white walls, prevent spread of fire, double lock technology. Ask for Eslon Polycon by name.
Fishing in troubled waters.
The world is currently engulfed in brutal war, and the whole country knows this. In some neighboring nations, the public has reached a state of physical altercations just to obtain essential services. Now, our country is also currently implementing various strategies in order to face this crisis. But what is our country's opposition doing? They are trying to fish in troubled waters amidst this global-scale crisis. However, the Samagi Jana Balawegaya claims that they are not trying to fish in troubled waters.
Vijaypala Hettiarachchi, the Akmeman electorate organizer for the Samagi Jana Balawegaya, expressed his views on how to act regarding the ongoing war in the Middle East.
යුද්ධයපට නෝ කුච්චන් තෙල් තියෙනවා රටේ කොහොමද අපේ ආණ්ඩුවේ පම්පෝරිය කටේ ජනතාවට ඉවක් දැනේ කරනා හුට පටේ තෙල් මිලටත් බඩුම තමයි බට ගහපිය කටේ මෙවැනි විට අපි දන්නවා.
At this moment, we know that this country has fallen into a very unfortunate crisis. We have never been ready to fish in troubled waters. Regarding this war, Sajid Premadasa is expressing certain views to both the country and the world. Our party leader is managing these affairs with great foresight and wisdom. International media have even interviewed our leader to get his insights on how we should live alongside the rest of the world during this time. Today, some people mock and ridicule him in this country. When he spoke about submarines, he was made a subject of laughter. But look, living in a technological world, we need certain things. The tools used during World War II are not what exist today. Today, there are nuclear strikes and various modern equipment. When we look at the daily destruction of resources in these countries, it is a very tragic situation for rebuilding, not just this country, but the world.
These are the views expressed by Sajid Premadasa in Parliament regarding the attack on the Iranian vessel.
අපේ රටේ මූදු තීරේ නාවක සැතුම් ගොඩබිමේ සිට නාවක සැතුම් 40ක් එහාට සබ්මරීනයක් එනකොට ඒක සොයා බලන්නට අපිට සර්ෆස් රේඩාර් නැද්ද? සොනෝ බොයිස් නැද්ද? අන්ඩර් වෝටර් සෝනාර් නෙට්වර්ක්ස් නැද්ද? ටෝඩ් සෝනා නැද්ද? සැටලයිට් සර්වේලන්ස් නැද්ද? අපිට කියන්නකෝ බලන්නකෝ. මේ ඇවි ආපු සබ්මරීනය බැලිස්ටික් මිසයිල් සබ්මරීනයක්ද? ඔහායෝ ක්ලාස් සබ්මරීනයක්ද? එහෙමත් නැත්නම් ගයිඩඩ් මිසයිල් සබ්මරීනයක්ද? මේවා ගැන පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට ප්‍රකාශයක් ඉදිරිපත් කරන්න. ලොස් ඇන්ජලිස් ක්ලාස්, සී වුල්ෆ් ක්ලාස්, වර්ජිනියා ක්ලාස් ඇටැක් සබ්මරීන් එකක්ද? දැන් ජාතික ආරක්ෂාව ඉහළටම තියෙනවා නම් රටේ හදිසි නීතිය ඉහළින්ම ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙනවා නම් ජාතික ආරක්ෂාව සුරක්ෂිත නම් කිසි ගැටලුවක් නැත්නම් අර ගහපු සබ්මරීනිය මොකද්ද කියලා රටට ඉදිරිපත් කරන්නකෝ. ඒව ගැන ඔබතුමාලට දැනුමක් නැහැ. ඒව ගැන අවබෝධයක් නැහැ.
With this crisis, we have seen a situation where every country in the world has set aside party and opposition politics to face this situation together. However, the role of our country's opposition is to use this specific issue as a shield to play politics. We ask Sajith Premadasa and the Samagi Jana Balawegaya, you are the leader of the opposition after all. Tell us one place where you stood up for the people of this country to overcome this crisis. On the very first day this happened, you brought up some random submarine. We saw you go on Google, get some names of submarines and kept reading them out in Parliament. We ask everyone representing that opposition, what is your role? What you are continuously doing at this moment is using this issue as a pretext for your politics. Today, there is a common problem facing all these opposition groups in this so-called alliance. Cases have been filed against all of them by the courts, the Bribery Commission and the Criminal Investigations Department, and indictments have been served in many of those cases. What they are doing is using the public of this country as a shield to play politics just to escape from these legal issues. That is very clear.
News First with the people. The Bribery Commission informed the Colombo Magistrates Court today that investigations into the bribery case filed against former State Minister Sashindra Rajapaksa and other suspects have been completed.
The complaint was filed by the Bribery Commission against 3 individuals, including former State Minister Sashindra Rajapaksa, over allegations that following the destruction of property during the recent Aragale period, pressure had been exerted on officials of the Reparations Office to obtain compensation amounting to 8,850,000 rupees. The allegations relate to a building and other property located on Mahawali Authority land in the Sevanagala area, which had been constructed without approval. Officials from the Bribery Commission notified the court that the investigation into the incident had been concluded and that the relevant investigation files had been forwarded to the Bribery Commission for further action. After considering the submissions, the magistrate ordered the case to be called up again on the 10th of July.
A 3-judge bench of the Colombo High Court ordered today that the evidence from the defence in the case filed against former Defence Secretary Hemasiri Fernando and former IGP Pujith Jayasundara over their failure to act to prevent the Easter Sunday terrorist attacks despite having received intelligence be presented to court on the 26th of March. This order was given during today's hearing of the case that was taken up before a 3-judge bench comprising of Justices Priyantha Liyanage, Viraj Veerasurya and Tilaka Ratna Bandara. The bench had previously ordered that former Defence Secretary Hemasiri Fernando and former Inspector General of Police Pujith Jayasundara be acquitted and released of the charges levelled against them. The Supreme Court, after hearing an appeal filed by the Attorney General against that verdict, overturned the High Court bench's decision to acquit and release the accused and directed the Colombo 3-judge High Court bench to summon the evidence of the defence in the case and deliver a fresh ruling. The accused, Hemasiri Fernando and Pujith Jayasundara, appeared before court today as the case was called in accordance with the Supreme Court's directive. During the proceedings, the bench read out the Supreme Court's ruling to them. The case is scheduled to be called again on the 26th of March.
The use of a 3-story house belonging to the wife of Batubattat Shamara, a close associate of organised criminal Ganemulla Sanjeeva, has been prohibited. The house, located at St. Anne's Mawatha in Baligampitiya, Jawala, is valued at 40 million rupees. Meanwhile, a consignment of narcotics seized by the Police Narcotic Bureau was destroyed today by incineration at a specialized furnace located in Laktovatta, Vanathavilluwa, Puttlam. This action was taken following the conclusion of relevant court cases heard at the Colombo and Balapitiya courts. The stock of narcotics, for which legal proceedings had ended, were transported from the Colombo High Court complex to Vanathavilluwa, Puttlam early this morning. The narcotics brought to the furnace at Laktovatta, Vanathavilluwa were destroyed in the presence of the Puttlam magistrate. The destroyed consignment included 40 kilograms and 533 grams of heroin, 132 kilograms and 79 grams of ketamine, 55 grams of cocaine and 3,482 narcotic pills.
Deputy Minister of Public Security and Parliamentary Affairs, Attorney-at-Law Sunil Watakala, states that the current government is working to sever the political ties that have existed with criminal gangs in the country until now.
Illegal drugs are linked to illegal weapons. They are linked to the underworld. They are linked to robbery. This business grew to this extent because of the assistance of the political authority, didn't it? We saw the performance put on by the former first citizen of this country at a certain moment in Wattala when the STF went to make an arrest. The president of the country arrived in a chopper, hugged that criminal while crying and stopped that operation. The political authority was deeply involved in this. The current government has decided to tear away the factor of politics from this black business. Until now, only the small fish were caught. We have moved to the stage of catching the sharks. Within the short time period that has passed, we have done the maximum possible.
අයිවන් සතුටින් ඉන්නේ වයරින් කරලා වයරින් කිරුවේ ඉස්ලොන් පොලිකොන් යොදලා.
For your safety and the protection of the wires used in networking, electricity and AC wiring, S-Lawn Polygon cable trunking, suitable for white walls, prevent spread of fire, double lock technology. Ask for S-Lawn Polygon by name.
Welcome back. Shipwrecks around Sri Lanka, a project that aims to position the island nation not just as a tropical paradise, but also as a premier global destination for underwater exploration, was launched in Colombo.
With the vision of promoting Sri Lankan tourism and strengthening the country's appeal as a diving destination, Sri Lanka Tourism Promotion Bureau, in collaboration with the Sri Lanka Navy, launched Shipwrecks around Sri Lanka.
Shipwrecks around Sri Lanka, developed with the technical expertise of the Navy, the platform serves as a digital archive and promotional tool showcasing the island's historic wrecks and vibrant marine biodiversity to divers and enthusiasts worldwide. Speaking at the launch, the chairman of the Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority, Buddhika Hewawasam, emphasized on promoting Sri Lanka not only as a tourism paradise but also as a diving hotspot.
So this is something very unique to us, which we want to bring tourists to Sri Lanka on that aspect. Because you know, Sri Lanka already is one of the most sought after tourist destinations. But at the same time, we need to diversify this tourism product into specialized areas. And being an island in the Indian Ocean with such a history, we had a lot of shipwreck as well as the biodiversity. And whatever that you have been looking in a diving heaven or a diving destination, we do have all of that. But it cannot be showcased until that you have been dived and photographed and videoed it and promoting it all over the world. So that is the initiative that you all took over. And this launch or this promotional campaign is to commemorate that or promoting that. Actually, Sri Lanka Navy is working hand in hand with us in this initiative and made it possible to showcase this diving destination to the world. So we are expecting Sri Lanka to be promoted not only as a tourism paradise or a most important tourism hotspot in the world, but to be most important diving hotspot as well. To being a diving paradise and creating a kind of diving tourism initiatives within Sri Lanka is the initiative of ours.
Navy spokesperson Buddhika Sampath highlighted the role carried out by the Sri Lanka Navy.
everybody knows that Sri Lanka, being a maritime nation and the states, we are surrounded by very attractive and blessed, huge maritime environment, and also the blessed with good number of maritime heritage. So Navy being a very professional force and the technical force, we thought of extending our avenues, how best we can exploit this one into the development of our country. So with the directives from the Minister of Defense, Navy thought of extending professional diving assistance in order to help and develop or enhance the knowledge of our maritime heritage around our island. So shipwrecks around Sri Lanka, this website came into light with that purpose, and providing a digital platform and to present our maritime heritage to the nation or the world.
This strategic project aims to elevate Sri Lanka's status from a traditional travel destination to a premier global diving paradise.
She Radiates 2026, an event aimed to create a platform that encourages women to inspire one another while building meaningful professional connections, took place in Colombo yesterday.
She Radiates 2026, a special event celebrating women's empowerment and leadership, was held yesterday at the Jubilee Room of the Gorface Hotel. The program brought together leading professionals, entrepreneurs, and corporate figures for an evening of discussion, networking, and inspiration. The event featured a panel discussion titled Radiating Inspiration, while highlighting the experiences and achievements of women leaders across different sectors. The discussions focused on leadership, resilience, and the importance of empowering women to take on influential roles in business and society.
An Island of Balance, authored by Dr. Thilanga Sumathipala, was officially launched in Colombo. The book, An Island of Balance, authored by Dr. Thilanga Sumathipala, was officially launched at the Professor Lakshman Dissanayake Auditorium at the University of Colombo. Based on Dr. Sumathipala's doctoral research at the Paris American University, the book transcends traditional academic discourse to offer a pragmatic blueprint for the nation. The author argues that Sri Lanka's historic struggle is rooted not in a lack of policy, but in a chronic disconnect between regulatory design and institutional delivery.
Reason I wanted to get into politics simply because I thought with my experience and knowledge I can make some difference to what I believe in. I thought all of us love this country. We all need to do something for the country, for the sake of the country. We have urge, we have so much of passionate thinking behind it. You really want to do something. So whatever the discipline you are in, whatever field you are in, you really want to do something to make sure this is a better place. So that context, I thought I'll get involved, being part of the policy making process. So now that I'm not serving in the political arena and in the parliament, I thought I must document it. Whatever experience I've gone through, it is important that I must document.
Research is not about writing thesis. It's not research for research. It's just to build a solid research methodology, something structured, and with developing rigorous thinking and helping, of course, the policy maker, because we built an holistic view of what we can make. But more important is about ensuring that research creates impact beyond academia. That's why I was interested in the work of Dr. Thilanga, because we have, and you will see that we have this connection.
The work identifies specific sectors such as fintech, climate resilience, logistics, ports and mineral processing as the vital growth engines for the 21st century. However, Dr. Sumathipala warns that these sectors cannot thrive in a vacuum. The event brought together a distinguished gathering of the country's leading academics, policymakers and industry captains to discuss a transformative roadmap for Sri Lanka's national development.
Dr. Asangabe Kunuzekara launched his new book, Winds of Change, Geopolitics at the Crossroads of South and Southeast Asia, discussing India's ambitions and challenges in the region.
The launch of Winds of Change, Geopolitics at the Crossroads of South and Southeast Asia by Asangabe Gunasekara was held in Colombo. Speaking at the launch of his new book, Sri Lankan analyst Dr. Asangabe Gunasekara assessed India's growing influence in the region, highlighting both its ambitions and limitations.
India selling BrahMos missiles to Philippines. Well, the India strategy is very clear. So with the Southeast Asia. So basically using if you look at the Indo-Pacific, they're a strong partner, of course. But what has happened is India does not understand what's happening in their own backyard now. So they're really, they're kind of taken up of what has happened with the torpedo attack. That I can see clearly, because they were not aware of what was going on as well as what's happening. So it is also a lesson to India to understand their strategic reach.
Experts attending the event described the book as a timely contribution to understanding geopolitical trends that are increasingly relevant not only to policymakers but also to business leaders and strategic thinkers in Sri Lanka and beyond.
The 147th Battle of the Blues, the annual cricket encounter between Royal College Colombo and St. Thomas's College Mount Lavinia, continued for its second day today at the SSC grounds in Colombo. Royal College, playing their first innings, were 175 for the loss of 4 wickets at stumps today.
The energy here at the SSC has been electric with the 147th Battle of the Blues between St. Thomas's College Mount Lavinia and Royal College Colombo taking place. Now both teams have displayed some quality cricket and we have one more day left, the third and final day, and it promises to be nothing short of entertainment and, like I said, quality cricket. So if you are a Thomian, if you are a Royalist, if you are a cricket enthusiast, the 147th Battle of the Blues is an encounter that you don't want to miss out on.
Batting first, St. Thomas's College Mount Lavinia were bowled out for 302 runs. For the Thomians in their first innings, Jaden Amaravira, Captain Avinash Fernando and Rashawn Solomon scored half centuries. In the bowling department for the Royalists, Sehandu Suryarachi took 3 wickets. In reply, Royal College's top order collapsed, losing 3 wickets for just 75 runs. Hirun Lianarachi failed to trouble the scorers, while Udanta Ganewata made 18 runs. Vimat Timsara was dismissed for 11 runs. Captain Rehan Piris was among the pick of the batsmen for the Royalists, scoring 63 runs alongside Ramiru Pereira, who was unbeaten on 70 runs at the end of day 2.
From that, we bring to a close this edition of Primetime News on TV1.
Thank you for joining us. Good night.